Good morning and welcome to Valley Views. I'm your host, Glenn Edison. Certainly glad to have you today. And as always, we want to thank BTC Fiber, who sponsors our program. And you can see all of our interviews on BTC Fiber's YouTube page, as well as BTC Fiber's Cable Channel 18. And we'd like to also thank our sponsors, Embers Ice Cream of Pikeville, Nickel Row Antiques of Pikeville, and White Wagon Bed and Breakfast of Pikeville. So if you're in Pikeville, go by and see those fine folks and check them out. They have many fine things for you. And today we have with us Winston Pickett. He's the, I guess you call him chief cook, bottle washer.
Sort of, or original.
Yeah, just about everything at Valley Fest. He's been coordinating this for, 11 years now?
11 or 12. Started the chamber as an idea in the adult leadership class. That's where the idea came from.
Well, let's get back into that about the beginning of Valley Fest. And for those that maybe have moved into the area and don't know the origin.
Right. The leadership group at the chamber was looking for a project. That's kind of one of their assignments. And I think it first started as an idea of an art exhibit. And then somebody said, well, that's quite limited. And we just kept building. Before you know it, we had something that was going to be at least a one day. And then finally we said, well, we need 2 days. And we need a name. And it went everything from blackberry winter to dogwood blooming to red bud. And finally somebody said, well, it's the entire valley, which is the idea of trying to include everybody, not just one county, but at least 3 counties. And the idea came up with the valley, and then of course fest, short festival. And so that's what happened. That's the original. Then we built a board of directors around that, which we still have. We've lost 1 or 2 of those, but in the last 12 years, but we've had a good participation. And you mentioned BTC Fiber. Actually, they're our major sponsor for the festival,
right?
And as well as Mountain Valley Bank and Citizens Tri-County have been with us since day one as sponsors, and many other area sponsorship as well. Too many to mention. I'll certainly miss some of it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know the people here I've watched over the years, and everybody seems to contribute to some point.
They do. We have a hospitality room that's unbelievable, and the folks around here who have food service just fill us up with really good food. And people that come from all over, our entertainers particularly, that come in there, say, man, it's worth coming whether we get paid just to eat. So that's a good thing.
Well, now, the first, 2 or 3 years, it was in the parking lot of Citizens Tri-County Bank and behind City Hall.
Right. We started with the idea by the chamber, and then realized very quickly that we needed, and the city was gracious enough to allow us to block part of the road system there at Cherry Street. And so we started growing and grew all the way down to the end of close to the pawn shop there.
Right.
And to be honest with you, we were standing out there one day with the folks from Riverbend. They were very gracious to come over and give us ideas. And they said, well, this is really a good start. You're ahead of us when we started. Well, that was a real compliment.
Yeah.
And one of the fellows looked over at the field over there and said, well, now, you're going to grow. And what about that property? Is that city? No, that belongs to an individual. That's how we ended up eventually purchasing the 17 acres, which has grown into a house and another property, another lot here, and a lot that the county commission just bought for us to give us access to about 8 more acres that's going to be donated. So this project's grown from original 17 to about 28.
Wow.
And some of the things you see here, this covered trestle bridge and all that, because there have been lots of really good donors and people that's helped us financially.
Well, I know that field used to be just a grown-up field.
Cornfield.
Yeah,
it was a cornfield, grown up and not really very well maintained. But the sheriff's department's been so good about helping us with trustees, and we cleaned out all of that area. Probably 5 of the acres you couldn't even see.
Right.
It was so grown up. I think we had 21 major burn permit days to burn up all the stuff that was pulled out of there.
Yeah.
And now we got a walkway and it's under construction. And, one thing after the other.
Well, you mentioned, I know with all the projects that's gone on, you built the pavilion up there with the restrooms, the entrance, and then from there, you went to the stage. You jumped the stage just last year, which was a great addition.
Right.
You got the little covered pavilion back over here by the creek.
On the picnic pavilion, right?
And that's really nice.
Yeah.
And now we've got this old railroad trestle, which is really nice. You can see some of the improvements from behind us that connects the walkway
To the city's
walkway, and now it's going to connect to the Valley Fest property.
Right.
It's a neat addition.
It really is, and the city and the county have been very cooperative. And Valley Fest is a group. We have as many as 100 volunteers when we do our festival, which is big in community involvement. And that's one thing leads to another. And people, what can I do to help? And that's just kind of how it's happened. But this trestle now, this was built according to the history books in 1888.
Wow.
Opened from here to the depot. I don't think what it was called.
Yeah.
And we saw the history says after 1888 it went to Pikeville in 1889. Those folks, if you want to walk through, come on through. Come on through. You're welcome. Yeah, we got walkers using the walkway over here.
There's some walkers behind us, so we'll be in a few minutes. So they're enjoying that, and there again, it adds to what we're trying to promote here. Is the walkway and soon to be connected to the property. And I know Winston, over the years, we've had so many a variety of performers come. And for a small town like Gunland, the performers we've had some pretty big names for performers.
We really have. And I can't remember them all. I'm too old to do that. I have on the back of my shirt. You want to look at them and read them?
Oh, we could.
Yeah, hold on to that. I'll take this shirt off. I had this made, I think, for our 10th anniversary. And you can see.
All right, we have, of course, Cody McCarver. Everybody knows Cody. Exile, which is a local band. Little Texas, which is, everybody knows, Shenandoah, John Snyder, Marshall Tucker Band, Confederate Railroad, Phil Dirt and the Dozers, Exile, Restless Heart, Georgia Satellites. I mean, that's a list.
That's
folks.
a good start, isn't it?
Yeah, and maybe I'm telling my age, but I remember a lot of those when they were around.
Well, people want to, they like to have a more modern, and well, we would too, up-to-date group, but you're talking several $100,000
Yes.
for a show, and we're not quite there. But what we've tried to do is work within what's available on our schedule and in our time frame. I think the most we've ever paid for a performance was 20, which, pretty good for us, but not a whole lot for some of what they've done in the past. We're actually negotiating right now, can't tell if it's going to happen, with the group called America.
Oh, really?
Horse and No Name and some of those songs, And that would fit right in with what we did last year in cooperation with the Veterans Group.
Yes.
So if they come back, and we're still working on that, if they come back and do the Friday, we'll have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday again.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. But that's still under works. It's not done yet, but we're working on it.
Well, I know last year, since we added that Friday for the veterans, that was a neat addition.
Yeah.
And it brought a lot of people.
It did, and unfortunately, we had some showers that day. They had about 500 motorcycles lined up to come.
Yeah.
A veterans group was promised to be here, and that got canceled. And, just had a lot of things. We had the Charlie Daniels band was here, and several other entertainers. And, it was just a great show. It was a shame we didn't have as many as we thought we would.
Right.
But it's an outside event. Cannot predict the weather.
That's right.
Just like today, you just think it's March with the wind blowing the way it is.
Yeah, and of course, we're outside, and of course it's getting fall, and the wind is definitely.
We got a chill out of the north.
Yeah, it definitely is, but that's all right.
Yes,
we're in a lovely place, and let's talk about you mentioned your board members. Let's go over those.
Yeah, if you want to do that. It tells what their background is on the left and their names.
All right. For the board members, it's Ronald Foley. He's a retired minister. Of course, Winston Pickett. He's the executive director, former executive director of the Commerce. Eric Reed. He's the local funeral director. Jake Cooley. He's a bank branch manager. Cliff Fowler. He's an entrepreneur here.
You mentioned his business in your intro, the ice cream shop in Pikeville.
Yeah. He's a neat guy.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Boring, which I think everybody, he's the general manager of BTC Fiber. Everybody knows Charlie. If you don't, you should. He's a great fellow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marlene Basham, she's a retired educator. Clint Huth, he's the city mayor, as well as former police chief.
And County Executive Cartwright.
And County Executive Cartwright.
Right.
So, we've got that one on here. But
Yeah.
Those are neat folks. And, you know, it takes a lot of volunteers, as Winston was mentioning earlier. If you come to Valley Fest, you'll see people running. They're everywhere. And
With their shirts on, that's their identifier. Yeah.
And not only just the performers, but you have a lot of folks that are here, you know, set up.
Vendors, we have several vendors. We have had as many as 2 or 3 stages, but we finally gave up, decided just to build around one because of the conflict in time and sound and all.
Right.
So we're back to the one, but we got the permanent, as you mentioned before. So we're happy with that. And there's yet to be development around it. We're going to rearrange some of the electric and water so our vendors can be a little closer to the stage. And, you know, everything's a work in progress. And out of somebody said, well, why don't we do this?
Yeah. Well, with all the new additions of property that will soon come to fruition, that's really going to make this property a neat place. It'll hold more people.
Yeah, for about 10 years now, we've had 9 holes of disc golf. And it's amazing how many people will come and play that, particularly late in the afternoon. You come down here about 4 or 5 o'clock and you'll see several out there playing. And of course, it costs them nothing. It's all sponsored by our local. We put up signs, this hole sponsored by. And we've got 9 holes, and hopefully we'll extend that over into our property that the Greer family is promising to give to us. That's why we've got the piece bought next to it, opens it up all the way to Maple Street on the other side.
Yeah, that's a good.
And that'll be a nature area, walking trails down in there. The creek runs through the edge of it.
Right.
So kind of like we're sitting here. We're above the creek as we speak. It's running beneath us.
Right. And I really, folks, if you have not had an opportunity, you can't get on it right yet because it's blocked off because they're not finished.
It's soon.
But come by and look at it. Just, you can look at it from a distance. You can go by the walking trail and look.
And we will have a sign either today or tomorrow that will hang there that will identify it as Coops Creek Trestle, 1888.
And that's really neat because we have a lot of new things going on, but we have a great history here that we need to recognize as well.
You know, history is growing as we speak, and it gets further away if we don't write it down or promote it. We forget it.
And with Valley Fest, there's always, you think, well, that's a local event, and it is, but we have people from everywhere.
We do.
Valley Fest.
We do. Several states, in fact. We've been very fortunate in getting to work. I have a good website, and the social media helps these days, which is beyond me. I'm a little too old for some of that. But we do have folks that push that part for marketing, and that really helps.
Well, and going back, you mentioned the city and county. If it really wasn't for them, with the property purchase and things to begin with, we would still be back in the parking lot.
That is true. Speaking of parking lot, just where you and I are sitting back toward 127, the city and county just purchased that empty lot. You remember, used to have a little shirt shop or something sitting there. That's gone. And this will all be developed and be an entrance for parking off of that if they don't want to come down Wagner Street, which we have open all the way. And we didn't mention the paving. We were able to pave because of the benefactors that helped us with projects like this. We were able to pave our first parking lot with plans to pave the next one around probably in the next month or 2. Weather permitting, we will get pavement around the state here.
I know you have plenty of access for handicap, and that's been a great addition.
It is. We try to build it to the code, to the specs that are there, and make sure that it is accessible to everyone. If you notice the entrance off the city, we're a little bit lower. It's got a gradual slope, so the person can get down there without any trouble. Crews over here working as we speak to get ready to build a ramp off of the end of the trestle. The old rail system is still there. We're going to clean that up. Maybe eventually put a caboose and build a replica of the city the railroad depot that's in the
Oh,
city of Dunlap.
that would really be
Yeah.
nice.
So those are plans in the future. You know, we've got more to do.
I know a lot of cities before they got into preservation. Even my home city of Boaz, Alabama, they had the road train stations, and they tore them down because they wouldn't make progress for other things, not realizing that was part of their issue.
Same things happened to this. This is one little piece that's still here. The rails were here, but we decided to not build on the rails. We needed it wider. They're still there. We're going to use them maybe to put the depot on. So all this will be usable. But the original tracks, once they're clean, you can see about 400 or 500 yards of them extending up toward the depot.
And that's really neat. And it's going to, to me, it's going to bring people to Dunlap just to see that.
I think so.
And we've got a lot of history of people wanting to come in, and just recently they've got new walking trails up all the way up to the coke ovens through a study.
Well, we've got a community that works together. To give you an example, our highway department, the county, they've been very gracious to come in. They've rocked to round them so we don't have an erosion problem. Built the base of the road in and out for us. So basically, we just pay for the material, and they've been very gracious when they have time at their convenience to come and do work for us, and they've been real good to do that.
Well, and as you mentioned the word volunteer, I know the state uses volunteers.
Yeah.
Volunteers for actually the Alamo, and that's where that comes from. But locally, we have volunteers that just jump up with
Yeah.
they're ready to do whatever needs to be done.
True example of volunteerism right here.
It truly is, and this will eventually, as with your plans with the railway, it'll connect right onto downtown, and then get into all the other things that we have downtown.
Right.
And downtown is expanding and into new areas.
Right.
So it'll bring people to
Well, you know, the city's got Harris Park, which is just a walk away. We're close enough to actually provide parking. There will be people for the bike ride this Saturday that have already called and want to come, and we don't even charge. We haven't set up a system. The city and the county help provide water and electricity, and that's just the way we work it. So they say, well, how much is it? Well, we don't have a charge, but we'll take donations. They always make a donation to us, and that's good. You know.
And since you mentioned donations, of course, y'all always take donations, and you don't actually beg for the donations. You just ask people if they'd like
It's
to.
available, and we're a 501c3. So anybody that wants to get involved, that's always an advantage they can use. And we've got that board of directors you just read. That's Valley Fest Inc. We had to do that to apply for the 501c3. So it's all worked together. But yes, anybody would like to be involved with the projects, either as a volunteer or as a sponsor, we'd love to have them.
And I think a lot of people need to understand too, and they probably do. You don't just meet one weekend for Valley Fest and say, okay, here's our schedule. It takes planning all year long. As soon as one's over, you start planning for the next.
Yes, and most of us, including myself, are volunteers. You know, we do this because we think it's a good thing. We mentioned Miss Marlene Basham a while ago. Of course, she works with the Hee-Haw Group and Cancer Sport Network, which in our charter, one of our supports, we've actually financially helped that group. When we have excess funds, if you we try to help them because they do great work for the community. But she is also now on our board as our treasurer. So she's a very important and chair of the working committee for the festival.
Well, good. Well, she'll do a good job.
She does a great job.
She does a great job anyway. Whatever she takes on, she does a good job.
Well, there's a lot of history. We go back. I had her as a sixth grade student when I started teaching in 1965. That tell you so. So county executive, a lot of folks, you know, we go way back in our family and our history. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is because I know I've met many students, former students, and not see them for years. And you see them, and they remember you.
They do. And I'm like, if you're like me, I said, I remember your face, but can't call your name.
That's me. Yeah. Well, is there anything we haven't talked about, Winston?
I think we, without a script, we pretty well covered everything. And
And let's show our
Okay.
poster once again that we want to make sure that
This was last year's, and as you can see, we had Credence Revisited, which is Credence Clearwater Revival. And like I said, we're negotiating with, hopefully next year, if we can get them booked, we'll have America. If not, we'll have something suitable. And you can see we got local. This lady is from Bledsoe County, who's
Right.
Carrie Hassler. She's been with us off and on. Last year, you see, we had the Charlie Daniels band, and of course, Charlie's no longer with us, but his original band came and performed here, so we were happy about that. And you see a lot of our
the sponsors down here.
sponsors.
And it takes a lot to get this going on. A lot of people, I know you probably think about it, but you don't realize just how much it goes behind it. Because you start booking acts and then you raise money. And sometimes I guess y'all worried that at times, especially in the first few years, like, is this going to come through?
I've got to go back in history and thank one of our original board members, Mr. Kurt Whistler, who's no longer living, no longer with us. We were in a meeting, and second or third year, we were running with the weather and all. Looked like we were going to be in the negative. Well, all the board members said, well, we'll chip in and cover, And he spoke up and says, I think I have a foundation connection and I can take care of it. And he took care of that. That's the only time we've had to have outside after the fact. Everything has been planned and it's grown, and the budget's up to around $40,000 now. So
That's great. Yeah. Well, that's great to have. I'm looking forward to this year. Last year, I didn't make it. I fractured my kneecap.
Oh,
The day of, I was thinking, well, I like this act on Friday night and this act on Saturday. I had it planned. And of course, you know how plans go sometimes.
you should have called us. We'd have ran a handicapped vehicle in there for you.
I was in pretty rough shape.
I bet you were.
But anyway, I hate that I missed it, but I'm ready to go this year.
There you go. We're looking forward to it.
Well, great.
It'll be the first weekend in May.
First weekend in May. And of course, the Songwriters Festival was last year right after that. I think they're planning to
The Freedom Sing people that we worked with on that Friday extended over to the Harris Park and put on a really good program.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
Since I wasn't there, that's what I hear. I heard a lot of good things, and I hate that I missed it. But
Some of the well-known songwriters were here, and they like what's going on. We hope they'll come back.
yes. Well, Winston, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate being with you.
Thank you. Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Blow away, but
That's all right. I've got it.
And again, folks, you can see this interview on BTC Fiber's YouTube page as well as BTC Fiber's Cable Channel 18. And again, thank you to all of our sponsors, Embers Ice Cream at Pikeville, Nickel Roll Antigua Pikeville, and White Wagon Bed and Breakfast at Pikeville. So until next time, have a great day.
Hey everybody, this is Glenn Edison from Valley Views. We appreciate you watching our shows, and we would like for you to like, share, and follow us on Facebook, as well as like and subscribe to our YouTube page.